Welcome to the College Essay Advisors podcast. Before we introduce ourselves, here's a little preview of what's to come.
It's quite fascinating and really impressive how much these programs can generate and how much you can use them creatively. That doesn't mean what they generate is creative. Hi, my name is Stacey Brooke, and I'm the founder and chief advisor at College Essay Advisors.
Hi, my name is Becca Myers, and I am Director of Advising at College Essay Advisors.
And today we're going to be talking about college admissions essays and AI. There are a ton of new platforms that have gained traction this year that all people, including students, have available to them to help them generate everything from computer programs to college admissions essays, and all things in between. And how these platforms work is you give them a prompt or you give them some details, you ask the program to generate something for you. These are also called generative AI platforms, and they comb the internet, they comb their stores of information and spit out something in a lightning fast amount of time at lightning speed that is supposed to answer the query that you asked or follow the instructions you provided.
And already I'll say what's problematic about that is that you're basing it on pre-existing data, and
Mhm.
if you're looking to differentiate yourself, using this is already going to be an issue, which we'll go into, because
Yes.
there's a certain template and formula involved where when AI is combing for information, it's gathering what's pre-existing. And so as such, it can be limiting in creativity.
Most definitely. And platforms, ChatGPT is probably the one people have heard of the most, and the one that I know students that I work with are using sometimes as a search engine and as a tool for maybe initially gathering their thoughts. I know a ton of professionals use it in generating things like emails or employee reviews at the end of the year, or things that are maybe a little bit more formulaic. But ChatGPT and programs like it are essentially taking from a very set amount of information and mixing it up and spitting it back out at you. And as Becca is saying, it is, for something that doesn't require as much creativity, it could be incredibly useful. But for something where someone, the admissions committee, for example, is looking for creativity of thought, individuality, unique perspective, what AI can help you create is going to be very limited in those ways. We have been working with what are essentially AI tools in Word, in Google Docs for years. That is essentially what spell and grammar check are. And we know that still to this day, those are not perfect. There are plenty of adjustments that are suggested that we tell students not to take, or things that we override. None of these tools are going to be foolproof. And I think, it's AI is a little dangerous because I don't think people fully understand the extent to which it can be used and the limitations of the tool. So that's one of the things that I think makes this a particularly tricky class of programs to work with.
And it flattens your voice too. I think that's
Hmm.
something that I can pick up on immediately. I mean, we all have our party tricks, right? I've been doing this for a
Yeah.
long time, and I feel like I can really hear when something is almost hollow. It is
Hmm.
devoid of personality. It feels generated to me versus something that feels more human. So for an exercise where you're meant to showcase your personality and your story, it's okay to have it sound a little less academic, right? And to have it feel more like storytelling. That's what we're aiming for here, so that it doesn't feel so highly polished that it's almost robotic. We want it to
Hmm.
have a conversational element. I think that's the ideal.
What's crazy about some of these programs and what they can accomplish and the directions that you can give them? Because experimented with them a ton to try to test its capabilities. And so you can, let's say put an idea for an admissions essay, which by the way is the hardest part of the process and something AI cannot help you do because it cannot read your mind and it cannot download your memories, and help put together, disparate parts of your universe in a way that's interesting for admissions. Um, but when you put a prompt into ChatGPT, let's say, if what comes out doesn't feel like that conversational college essay voice, college admissions essay voice, you can, in your next direction, say, can you write this in the voice of a 17-year-old writing a college admissions essay? And it will change the tone of your essay for you in a way that would probably fool a teacher that wasn't paying attention, a parent who was like just very quickly glancing over it. It will not fool admissions. It definitely doesn't fool us.
On our website, we're going to have an AI essay, AI generated essay that I've marked up to show the tells and also give marginal comments, specific comments that indicate how this could have been different, right? If it wasn't AI generated. So I'm encouraging all of our listeners to check out our website, collegeessayadvisors.com. And you'll not only find that AI generated essay, but we're also going to have a student written essay on the website that I've also marked up so you can get a feel for our feedback. But I think it's helpful to read those two essays together. And even though both are flawed in their own way, to see the voice, the human voice in the student generated one.
Absolutely. When we're talking about the flattening of a voice with AI, there also are some highly cliche thoughts, statements, conclusions that come out of these machine generated essays, that I mean, again, we're going to do another whole episode on red flags and what we see that is a clear indicator of AI's AI's digital touch. But the again, on first read, a very quick read, these essays feel like they're maybe digging a little deeper, like they're presenting lessons learned. But if you read a few of the AI generated essays in a row, you will come to find that all of these lessons are framed exactly the same way. They could probably apply to any life experience. Often they are lessons when that isn't necessarily what a college admissions essay drives to. So I think AI's even basic understanding of what a college admissions essay is supposed to do or can be is very limited. And it is totally possible and highly likely that AI will get better at helping students, concoct these from the resources on the internet. But I do think that the level of creativity, that level of personality, unique inspiration is something that's going to be the last frontier of what artificial intelligence can actually um, accurately mimic.
Yeah.
Unless they're hooking up electrodes to our thoughts and our feelings, I think it's which could very well happen. I think that the details of an experience, the nuance of how something went down, what the room looked like, what the room smelled like, what someone's like hand holding yours like made you feel. Those are details that AI will likely not insert. If they insert them, they will be taken probably from texts that are totally unrelated to your life, so they might be total lies. And those kinds of details and personal touches won't be included unless you think to feed them to AI, which if you're gonna take the time to do that, you might as well write your essay.
Yeah.
Just write it.
Well, and the larger moral question here. And I know this is difficult for parents listening for me to say to you, well, this should be about process, not product. Like part of this ideally is that your child gets to really think about who they are before they embark on this huge life journey. I know when you were up against like all your AP classes and extracurriculars and applications, the idea of like really looking inward and figuring out who you are doesn't sound appealing. I just think it's a tough sell for me to tell someone right now who is going through this process that what you need to do is sit down with your child and say, this is actually meant to be a super enlightening process that you enjoy because it's your chance to figure out what you want, to think about your personal narrative. Like a lot of parents that I work with are really just scrambling and hopeful that they make deadlines. It's really
Mm-hmm.
difficult. So to
Mm-hmm.
encourage someone to step back and look at the bigger picture of self-interrogation is a pretty big ask. But I think
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, as a society right now, that's a question we're struggling with is for creative projects, it is really about process as much as product. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Stacey and Becca writers, I could write poems with AI. I could sit down and just feed a bunch of stuff into AI and come up with some weird images and call it a day. But the reason I write poems is because I want to make sense of my experiences and come to a fuller understanding of myself in the world. And so the college essay to me, one of the reasons I love it and I want to work with students is because it's my first chance to kind of get to them and say, I know you hate this right now, but what are you learning from it? It's actually really interesting. Have you ever thought about this first memory? Have you ever really wondered why you want to be an astronaut? Like, what is it about that?
Mm-hmm.
And when students, even though it's a hard process to write the essay, I think a lot of the students walk away with sort of the first glimmer of, I did this, I wrote this, I'm proud of this, I understand something about myself. And AI can never give you that. Even if you want to study AI in school, the process of writing a personal statement is about fully, I don't know, getting to know
Self-exploration.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Completely.
exploration.
Completely.
That's what it is. And to take that away from,
Completely.
that's the thing that angers me about AI is I think it takes that away.
The thing about the writing process, especially for this kind of assignment, and since I write personal essays, I feel this way all the time, is that most of the time I don't even know what an essay is about until I'm three-quarters of the way through it. Part of
Absolutely.
it is trying to chip away at what does this even mean. Um, and that's why I think AI provides this really appealing shortcut of generating these cliche sentiments that can be delivered on the heels of a few details provided, and it feels like what a college essay should feel like, but it doesn't deliver the punch, the power of real self-reflection and exploration. And a seasoned reader, which is all of the application, all of the admissions people. I'm mixing up all of my A's today. Apologies to everyone. My the admissions officers will absolutely know. Again, we know in a half a second when someone submits something for review and it has been generated by AI. Like the red flags go off in 2.5 seconds for us. Um, so I think there there is a lot to be said, Becca, for what you were getting at with the process is such a huge part of this. And I also think the tools for detecting AI, especially within the college, the actual college realm and experience, are going to get better as the AI technology gets better. So my assumption is that students might be tempted to use these tools, but they will be found out.
If you put in all this work, I mean, some
Yeah.
students applying to Ivies, like, they started taking their second language in third grade. Like you've
Yeah.
put in years of work to get where
Mm-hmm.
you are. Why would you risk it on an assignment that you really sit down and you focus? It doesn't take that much time, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, can you
Mm-hmm.
imagine being discovered that you've cheated the system and you're immediately
Yeah.
cast out? Like to
Completely.
waste, I just wouldn't risk
Completely.
it.
I often advise students and parents don't give admissions a reason to say no. Like
Yeah.
if there ever were a reason to say no to a student, it would be automatic. Automatic. And I think a lot of institutions are implementing. I know a lot of schools themselves, high schools themselves are instituting codes of conduct where they're asking students to pledge that they will not use these tools um, unless they are applied in ways that are approved. And I do think that these tools can be so useful. There are interesting applications for these. I'm by no means anti-technology or progress. I use a calculator and I haven't added two numbers together by myself since like the sixth grade. So I take advantage of technology and have been for a long time in areas that are daunting to me.
Are you saying the most advanced technology uses a calculator? I was like, Stacey, let's have a chat after.
I'm just saying that I think technological tools that provide people with avenues for, getting work done faster, being more productive, getting work done more effectively, efficiently, and with fewer errors. I'm all in favor of that. We're just at the beginning of this journey and we have to figure out all of the ethical implications of this. And while we do that, I think students should be careful in the way they tread, and like you're saying, shouldn't cheat themselves of the experience of actually learning how to write a personal statement. One more thing, and I know I'm taking up all this time on the mic, is that for Y essays, where it really might feel easier to throw something into AI saying like, can you write an essay about why I want to go to the University of Michigan, 650 words in the voice of a 17-year-old college applicant? How accurate is that information going to be when it comes back to you? It likely will pull things that look really reasonable in terms of facts and teachers and I'm sorry, professors and traditions and whatever else you prompted for. But those could be old facts from old versions of the website, professors who no longer work at Michigan. These technologies are still in their infancy, and they can only work with the information that is out there, and the vetting only happens to a certain degree. So there's just a lot to watch out for. It's quite fascinating and really impressive how much these programs can generate and how much you can use them creatively. That doesn't mean what they generate is creative. I think we can leave it here. We're going to make another podcast that talks about the major pitfalls of using AI on your admissions essay and what the main tells are. So be on the lookout for that. We will be back with more tips, tricks, advice, updates, and thank you for listening.
That's our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening or watching. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to follow us for more. Happy writing!